Welcome back to What Am I Modeling? Today, my guest is Dr. Ashley Lucas. She is the owner, founder, and advisory consultant for PhD weight loss and nutrition. She has over 15 years of education in the field of nutrition and metabolism. She was a professional ballet dancer, and in her mid-20s, she had to retire due to her body breaking down, injuries, pain, a dysregulation between what she should eat and care for her body. This drove her into wanting to understand sport performance and nutrition. So she went on to earn her PhD in sports nutrition and chronic disease from Virginia Tech. Her research throughout her 6-year postgraduate doctoral training focused on energy metabolism and the female athlete triad. She was awarded the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Scholarship and completed her dietetic internship at the Ohio State University. She is a renowned speaker, columnist, and leading expert in the field of weight management and behavior change. And we're going to dive in today with her personal struggles, growing up as a dancer that has such rigorous requirements on how you're supposed to look to be professional. In fact, they were told her, you don't look like a ballerina, so you're never going to make it. She went against all odds, pushed through it anyway, and because of this, developed an identity around being a dancer that she had to learn to let go. And now she helps thousands of people lose weight the healthy way, building muscle by looking at body composition testing and also shifting their mindset. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ashley Lucas. Welcome, Dr. Ashley. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So I haven't had the pleasure to talk to you much prior to this, but one of the things I know about you, which just perked my interest, is that were a ballet dancer, a professional ballet dancer?
I was back in the day.
And I'm a hip hop dancer. So we got to open with some dance, man, because I think, first of all, it's such a small community, the dance community. And once you know one person, you know so many other people. And granted, we're not in the same state, but I do know, growing up in the modeling industry myself and knowing a lot of ballerinas during that time, we were kind of raised in I guess I should say, an environment where we weren't necessarily taught healthy habits on how to take care of our body. And so I would love to dive into how kind of your history with ballet and that part before we dive into what you do now. So when did you start dancing and how did you end up becoming a ballet dancer?
I started dancing when I was a really young girl. My mom put me in ballet when I was probably 3, 4 years old. And I had a cousin who was super talented. Actually, she was I don't know if you call them a cheerleader anymore, but she danced with the Sonics team in Washington State.
Are you from Seattle?
Yeah.
Me too.
No way.
Bellevue High School.
Okay. Well,
How about you?
I was across the bay, Puget Sound, Bainbridge Island, really small town. I would come over and take classes at Pacific Northwest Ballet. And I don't even remember, but I'm sure you took classes at this dance studio over there I love jazz. Not great at hip hop, but I love it. And so I would go over because there's not much in Puget Sound area, very small town. So I would go over there and take jazz and hip hop classes. What is it called? It's not coming to me, but it was a big time studio there that I really loved. But I just wanted to emulate my cousin who I adored, who was obviously very talented. I wanted to move like her. And so I asked my mom if she would put me in ballet, and that's how it all started.
Did you fall in love with ballet right away?
I fell in love with what was it? Probably the attention and the ability to clearly see growth.
Well, what do you mean by attention?
Probably the attention from the audience. From my teachers, the accolade.
Yeah, because it's hard to be a ballet dancer.
It is very hard.
And harder than hip hop, I think.
I don't know. It's different, but I was not good. natural, like, when I started, it was back in the day where they would put all of the talented girls in the front row and all of the not so great kids. Like, my spot was the left corner in the back row over and over. I was, like, always in my entire career, actually, like, the underdog. Never good enough, never thin enough, never the right hair color, never the right kind of pointed foot. Like, I never could really, at least this is my
Mhm.
my perception of it. I was never enough. Um, but I like the feeling of like climbing the ladder and seeing myself grow and get better and get different roles and positions, and just fight for it. I had to fight for everything I got in that career.
And so you did obviously fight
Mhm.
for it. So what did that turn into? What did it look like by the time you were in your teens, or when did you start dancing
Mhm.
professionally? And for who for?
Yeah, so I took from this very small studio. They saw like no hope in me, and that's why now, like, if I teach dance, I always go for the people who like aren't in the front row, because I'm
Yeah.
like, you can do this, you've got this. Fight for the underdog. But so then I went and I shifted schools, and I was in this school in the Puget Sound area with this Japanese instructor. She was so strict, like. She would tell me, I give her a lot of credit for my growth. So when I share these stories, like, these are the stories that also made impact. Like, she gave me hope. She gave me opportunities. She put me in roles I never would have been given. Like, she saw something in me, and I am forever grateful in that. And, very strict, very like, you're so fat. What did you eat? I can see what you ate for lunch. You should eat mushrooms because mushrooms have no calories in them. Do you eat like, I see that you ate chocolate. Like, I mean, it was just very intense. And if there were other girls, she'd be like, "You so fat," but that's that's the culture she came from. So also like pushing through, I would probably have multiple stress fractures in my feet. And I remember doing Aurora, which is like the Sleeping Beauty main position, and you have to do this sequence on point shoes, so you're on your toes and you hop up and down on your toes from one side of the stage to the other. And I remember dying inside of pain, and she's like, again, 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 again.
How old were you at that time?
I was probably like 13 to 15 with
I
that.
mean, isn't that crazy? Like, could you imagine now? And I don't know if the ballet industry is still the same way. I don't know. I
Hmm.
know that the modeling industry has shifted a little bit
I
where
think it's
they're
probably
not
shifted.
as,
Yeah.
focused on that. But I was 13 when I signed a major fashion, contract, and it was the same thing. I mean, it was like thinner, thinner, thinner. Like, you got
Mm-hmm.
to watch your weight. And when you're 13, 14, 15, and you're trying to figure out who you are, how
Yeah.
did that impact you in the rest of your life, in school and with friends and
Hmm.
relationships and whatnot? Did it? I can imagine it carried over.
Oh, I'm probably still working through that.
I love honesty.
I mean, it's given me great things, and it's given me, areas that I need to continue that are my challenges. So like, a challenge that I still like have to work to overcome is like speaking my truth and listening to my body.
Mhm.
My body has to hit me over the head with a hammer for me to be like, oh, maybe I need to take a break.
Yeah.
Um, because I would push through a stress fracture in my back when I was 14, and just,
Mm.
I couldn't even go over a speed bump, but I would go to class. I did not listen to my body at all. I was in a war against it. Listening to my own intuition was also something that I had to regain and continue to, because I was always told what to do, when to do it,
Mhm.
how to look, how to make my face look, what my hair needed to be, and it was never
Mhm.
good enough. So I
Yeah.
think those are big pieces that have lasted, but also the great things of, you know, um, dedication and respect of others and
Mhm.
hard work and passion and drive and
Mhm.
attention to detail,
Mhm.
being able to lead others.
Mhm.
So it gave me just as many great things as things that I've needed to overcome. So I,
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
agree with that. I do think that everything we go through, there's a reason we do. And,
Mhm.
we look at the world a little bit differently once we have that shift. How old were you when you finally started to say, okay, I'm going to listen to my body. This isn't necessarily good for me. How long did it
last
take you to get?
month. No,
Whoa.
I'm
Okay.
just kidding. To some degree, though, I will say, like, the last few months, I've been getting some, like, migraines, and my husband's like, "Your body is talking to you." I'm like, "No, it's not. Like, something's off. No, your body's telling you need a break." So I'm telling you, Tricia, that it's like a constant thing
Yeah.
for me, and probably one of the lessons I'm here on life to learn, on earth to learn through my life. But yeah, so I was with that really intense teacher. It didn't get better. They're all really intense, but I was
Mhm.
with that and going through puberty and not know,
Yeah.
what it all
Well,
meant and
I'm
having getting
developing at that
yes.
age, right? Like, I was developing a chest
Mhm.
and hips and
Yeah.
curves, and it was like, "You can't have those. You're not allowed to have those." And
Mhm.
I'm like, "What am I supposed to do? Chop them off?" Like,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
feel self-conscious, and then you wanna hide behind something,
Mhm.
and I know exactly, like, I get
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
then mine wasn't so much with dance because I was a horrible ballerina, like, I was horrible at it, and I wasn't great at jazz either. Pointing toes and standing up tall and hitting
Uh-huh.
everything perfectly was not what I like. Hip hop's quite the opposite. You don't have to be perfect at it, you know? But anyway, so yeah, I completely get it. And so you're going through this more recently,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Did you have a lot of challenges with, and it's okay if you don't want to answer this, but
Mhm.
like with food and weight and like seeing your body in a way from a healthy viewpoint that you've had to be working through and overcome? Because you now do weight loss. So I'm curious,
Yes.
how did that segue into doing weight loss when you come from such a background of disordered eating?
Well, I think that that's why. So, fortunately for me, I didn't dive deeply into disordered eating. I think, there's a spectrum of it, and I was on a spectrum of it, of course. I mean, after I was with this instructor, I went to boarding school for ballet during high school. That was
Wow.
very intense. The majority of the girls there had disordered eating to the point where they would just my roommate would eat 2 pieces of bread and a laxative, or I had another friend who would go home over break and come back 15 pounds heavier over 2 weeks, and
Oh,
then punish
man.
herself and say, "I'm only eating an apple and drinking Diet Coke, until I get back down." So it was just constant. It was in, every aspect of my life. I would go to summer programs at American Ballet Theater in New York, and my friends would be eating cotton balls because the cotton, puffs up in the gut. I mean, really insane stories. And I would, do my best to stay lean. And I was always told that I was fat. My teacher there was from Russia, and she told me that I have wide hips. I probably got them from my mom. And in the future, I'll have kids pretty easily, which actually wasn't the truth. It was difficult. So, yeah, it was just a constant picture in my mind of needing to restrict myself. Back then it was fat was bad, don't eat
Mhm.
fat or you'll
Right.
get fat. So I had a diet, I mean, terrible, like instant oatmeal with the spray butter,
Yep.
deli turkey with spray butter,
Yep.
candy corn because candy corn is fat free. I remember eating so much of that like my throat would just be raw. The instant pudding with Cool Whip.
Mhm.
I mean, all of this I remember telling my mother, I was like, if I don't like in my 40s, if I don't have 2 heads, it will be a miracle because I didn't eat real food. But at that time, I didn't care. All I wanted was to be good at this sport.
Do you remember the Sorbet candies?
I don't
They were
remember
like
those.
a fake sugar hard candy,
Uh-huh.
and my mom had those in the sorry, Mom. It makes me sad because she felt she had to eat those because she was a professional model as well, but they were in our cabinet, and when I would get hungry, I would just suck on a Sorbet candy. Well, it was
Mhm.
all chemical. There was
Yeah.
nothing in it. 0
Yeah.
calories, 0, like, nothing, and I literally would probably eat 20 of those a day, and they would just clean you out almost like a
Mhm.
laxative, and I've never shared that publicly, so there you go, there's a vulnerable
Well,
moment.
you are not
But at
alone.
yeah, but you know what, I think people talk about, "Oh, yeah, I'm sure the modeling industry and the dancing industry
Mhm,
was that way," but I don't it's almost like it's dismissed in a way, like, "Oh, you walked into it, you're supposed to have that," but when you're passionate, you said the word passion earlier, and when
mm,
you find something that you wanna do at such a young age,
mhm,
and you're so impressionable at that time,
mhm.
it's just the norm. It's
Yeah.
just what you do, and it
It's
isn't until
expected
later,
as
and it's
well.
expected, and
Mhm.
if you don't do it, and people are like, "Well, you could have just said no." I don't know. When you were
Yeah.
13, could you just say no to somebody that you looked up to and respected? Like, it was such a different world. I really do hope it's changed. I feel like there's
Mhm.
much more emphasis on muscle mass and strength now than there was back then. But yeah, the
Mhm.
amount of fat-free and candies and things that you would eat as a meal replacement. I mean, those were the years of Slim Fast. That was the
Yeah.
worst thing ever.
Mhm.
They even stocked up on those at Costco, you know?
Yeah. If I think of if I had treated myself like an athlete
Yeah.
and had fueled my body, I would have been so much stronger. I would
Mhm.
have had so many, so much more gains. I would have been better. My career would have been longer because my career actually ended because of injury. I had
Mhm.
stress fractures all the time. After boarding school, I went to completed my undergrad in ballet performance. I danced with the Aspen Santa Fe Ballet. There they told me that my calves were too small. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have like a career with them. I was an apprentice, would do all nutcrackers and some summers with them. But since my calves were too small, that didn't work out. So then I went and I danced with the Richmond Ballet in Virginia. All positive, like good experiences, but still, it was just, we were paid terrible. The lifestyle was really hard.
Yeah.
It's just really intense, and I was selected to go perform in New York City at the Joyce Theater, and I ended up in the ER. I thought I was having a heart attack, didn't know what was going on, had a
Mm.
CAT scan, all the tests, and the doctors came back saying that I was just over-exercised. I was
Mhm.
underfed, and I wasn't, like, severely restricting calories, and I wasn't too thin.
Mhm.
My body still wasn't where it needed to be for the sport. And I just decided at that time, like, I was so tired of, dancing through pain.
Yeah.
Like, I was injured all the time. I was in pain performing, and I just it was a big decision for me. It was my identity. It was 23 years
Yeah.
of sacrifice. I it was tough, but, like, yeah, I didn't go to parties, I didn't really have an adolescence because it's like any elite level athlete, like, it's everything, which I would not do any different.
Yeah.
I don't regret a single bit of it, and it was hard. And the transition out was hard. That's how I got into nutrition is I didn't know what to do with my life, and I understood how significantly nutrition, or really lack thereof, impacted my sport performance. I really knew in my heart that I could have had a stronger, longer career had I fed myself and understood that, eating fat is actually healthy. I remember getting through a day, and it was a huge win for me if I ate 5 grams or less of fat. If I had known, I didn't eat red meat because they say red meat's bad. I was vegetarian. I was
Mhm.
doing all the things that we're told to do to be healthy, and it just didn't work for me. So that's why I went back to school and I earned my PhD in sports nutrition and chronic disease. I studied female athlete triad, energy availability. I looked at a lot of the behavioral aspects behind why we make change and why we don't. And
Mhm.
I just wanted to help people achieve an optimal, healthy body weight without ruining their bodies,
Mhm.
sacrificing so many years of their life and their health like I did.
You mentioned behavioral choices, which has always been an area of fascination for me. What did you determine or find a trend in people that do commit to improving their health versus people who say they want to commit but can't? Did you find a particular trend either in their background or personalities or stuff that make people more successful?
That's a good question. The people who are most successful are those who are at a threshold where their desire to change significantly outweighs their desire to stay the same. And I really just think that's it.
I know. It's been such an interesting thing as I've watched people over the years. You could have two people that come in and they're in the same situation, and one of them is like doubles down on everything and they work and they do it, and the other person's like, yeah, I want to, I'll do it later, I'll do it later.
Mhm.
And being an adrenal fatigue doctor, I'm always like, okay, why is it just the cortisol making them want to wait till later? They think there's a better time, or is there an actual behavioral difference, kind of like in business when you see an entrepreneur versus an
Mhm.
employee? They just have a different personality, they have different
Mhm.
things that drive them.
Mhm.
And I tend to find that people that tend to be more perfectionists sometimes are the ones that take the longest
Maybe
because
fear of failure.
yeah, they're like, well, this
Mhm.
isn't the perfect time, or they're afraid to let go and
Mhm.
trust. So they have this expectation that, for example, and I know you can speak to this, and I'm going to ask you about it because they have this expectation that, okay, I'm supposed to be 120 pounds, but I'm 130 pounds now. And I used to be 120 pounds, and therefore, if I'm not 120 pounds, I can't do it. So they're doing all these extreme things
Mm.
to try to get to a certain target that isn't a realistic expectation for where they are now, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they're 20 years older, maybe they've been working out more, maybe they have more muscle mass, maybe their body changed after children, and the shape that they're used to seeing prior to children is different than
Mhm.
now. Um, how do you deal with people in weight loss if their expectation of what they're trying to achieve might be a bit skewed, like, which kind of falls into that body dysmorphia in some way. They don't
Mhm.
see how beautiful they look. So no matter
Mhm.
what you do, they can't get there because they don't see it.
Yeah. We're fortunate because we can use science and we use body composition to
Great.
dictate where the person needs to be, and it takes emotion out of it. And I think that's very helpful for people who think that they need to be much leaner than they really need to be, or people who come in and might have a 50-pound excess fat mass that's not serving them and think they just have 15 pounds to drop.
Right.
So I think it's really helpful to have data there to help show, like, this is where you need to be and why.
Yeah, I love body composition testing. And I find myself speaking to women, particularly my age, going through
Mhm.
perimenopause and menopause about it all the time because they're like, I'm
Mhm.
working out and I'm not getting any smaller. And I'm like, yeah, but your muscle mass is increasing and your fat is going down. And you're now setting yourself up for longevity by having a better body composition. And I don't think we talk enough about that. So why don't you talk about it? What exactly is body composition testing? Why is it so important,
Mhm.
especially for those of us that are in our old lady years?
Yeah. Yeah, so oftentimes when you just go to your general practitioner, they'll talk about BMI. BMI is not a good indicator of your health because it only takes into consideration your height and weight. It's a height and weight ratio. So if, let's say, you take two women, both of them weigh the same amount, say 160 pounds,
Mhm.
and one of them lifts heavy, has a lot of muscle, and the other one doesn't. One can be perfectly healthy and have a healthy body composition, the one who lifts a lot and has a lot of muscle, whereas the other one is going to be composed primarily of fat, and that's an issue. So
Mhm.
when we look at body composition, we're looking at the various parts of you, the percentage of body fat, the percent of muscle mass, how much visceral fat, or in other words, belly fat, do you have? And that really, the belly fat is like kryptonite. That's the part that we want to get rid of. We don't really care about the subcutaneous fat, the stuff that you can pinch, but we want to get rid of that deep fat that's wrapped around the organs. So, what we want to look at, so for most women, for example, I'd say probably a 25 to 27% body fat. That's a really good healthy range. So it doesn't matter if you weigh 160 pounds or 150 or 180, as long as your body fat percentage is within that level. Uh,
That's
you know,
interesting. 20 to 27. I remember I
Mhm.
got mine done and I was like complaining, and now I won't complain.
Don't complain.
Okay. I was like, wait, aren't we supposed to be lower? Because, like, we think that for some reason. I think
Mhm.
as women, we've been fed so much conflicting information that I think we don't even know what we're supposed to be. And I even went
Mhm.
to a point where I said, I can't look at my weight anymore. I haven't gotten on the scale in a very long time. I did body composition and I like cried for a day. So I won't do that again for right now.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because I was like, this isn't working. But and that goes back to the years of always having to focus on those metrics as what makes me me. And what my
Mhm.
self-worth was always based on what those metrics were, and it's just not healthy for me to do that anymore. But what
Mhm.
I do look at is how rapidly do I respond when I start to tumble? How skillfully can I walk up a ladder and balance when I paint the wall? Like the
Mhm.
little things that I see people my age unable to do, and I'm like, I can do that. I'm quick. With Pilates and with hip hop, I've kept those muscle fibers firing. So let's get a realistic expectation for women like me. 20
Mhm.
to 27% body fat. What else are we
Mhm.
looking for?
Yeah, well, so visceral fat really depends upon the scale and the body composition piece that you are using. But belly fat is what you do not want. And so
Mhm,
you can get an MRI, you can get a DEXA scan, you can
mhm,
get a Tanita. I like that brand of a scale. So I know for PhD weight loss clients that I want to see, for a woman who's 50 years old, I'd like to see her visceral fat between a 3 to a 5. And that's just like a scale of 1 through 20. It
mhm.
might not mean much because it is specific to the Tanita body composition, but we want to see that visceral fat to be as low as possible. One thing you can do at home is you can lie on the ground, and if the subcutaneous fat is going to spill over onto the sides. It's going to compress down. I know it doesn't sound great.
I hate that
But
stuff.
it's not the scary stuff. If you lay down and you see a protrusion and that fat doesn't really move, then that is that deep belly fat. And that means you're doing something, you're going to make a change because it's going to help you achieve better health.
That's
Um,
a great I've never thought about it that way. So let me unpack this for a second because you're teaching me something. So when I lay on the floor, I go to do
mhm,
my Pilates or whatever.
mhm,
If everything falls down,
mhm,
I can't do much about that. Except just normal. I mean, it's not unhealthy. I'm not having an unhealthy response from that. That's just time of me continuing to do exercise or whatever. I would
mhm,
be concerned if my stomach stayed up.
That's right.
Hmm, interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so how do you change it?
How do you change it?
How do you change the visceral fat?
Mhm.
What is your situation with that? I mean, obviously it's individualized, but
Yeah. My tactics around the belly fat is one, your specialty area. If we think, I always believe that the body never makes a mistake.
Mhm,
It's always doing something to protect us. We
mhm.
just might not like it.
Yeah,
And
100%.
so around visceral fat, it is storing that fat around the belly because if you think of from ancestral days, we didn't have food all the time. We
Mhm,
wanted to have quick access to energy. And where can you access it most quickly is when it's stored right around the belly. It has the most receptors. It's just handy
mhm,
there, kind of like a fanny pack.
mhm. It is.
You
It
know?
is.
Yeah,
Mhm,
so that's what our body's doing, and when we're in states of high stress, we have elevated cortisol, we have elevated insulin levels, then we're much more likely to store that fat around the belly. Back way in the days, that was a sign that there was an issue, we needed to protect ourselves, so our body's doing this because it's a protective mechanism. What happens is that in current days, it gets out of control,
yeah.
and
There's
the
always a bear around the corner. And you know what's crazy is like the level at which we've adapted our baseline. I spoke
Mhm,
to someone yesterday and I said, we need to talk about the stress response. And she's like, I'm great. She's like, I have a husband. I have a great life. Finances are good. I have 4 kids. I said, what's your schedule like? And she was like, oh my God, it's insane. I'm running all over the place and I never get time for
mhm,
this or that. And I'm like, okay, so that's now normalized to you. But what
mhm,
is your body saying? Your body internally is constantly at a dysregulated cortisol. It's up, down, it's all over the place.
mhm,
So, how your body's protecting you? And I say the same thing. It's so important. We get so mad, don't we? And when our body doesn't do
mhm.
what we want. But if you flip the switch and you look at it through a lens and say, oh, my body's trying to help me. Why don't I help it?
Mhm.
It's different. Okay. So you
Yeah.
deal with the getting them into parasympathetic states.
And then you can
exercising at the right time.
Yep, what they're eating, when they're eating, a lot of the foods that we eat these days, the amount I'm not saying that we need to follow a low carb diet, but the amount of carbohydrates in the standard American diet, all the processed foods, the sugar, foods we don't realize have a lot of sugar can also metabolically cause stress. So now we've got
Totally.
the emotional stress, the psychological stress, we've
Right.
got all of the lifestyle stress of the blue lights and the screens
Mhm.
and the social media and all this. And then we're eating foods that metabolically cause stress. And it's just this perfect storm. The
Mhm.
good news is you can make changes. Like it sounds
100%.
terrible, but you can. And it starts with when you're eating, what you're eating, sleep. The type of movement that you're doing. A lot of people
Mhm.
will come into us doing the like elliptical machine and thinking they need to burn calories and
Mhm.
monitoring everything off of my fitness pal and
Mhm.
looking at the body like a calorie sensor rather
Mhm.
than knowing that the types of food dictate your hormones and your hormones dictate what your cells do with the energy you
Mhm.
consume. So I think it's taking a step back and looking at how the food actually reacts in the body and what it's doing inside you. And
Yeah.
when I was dancing, I didn't realize that. I was just calories in, calories
Yeah.
out, fat makes you fat, and hence
Mhm.
the candy corn and your hard candies.
Exactly, 100%. And, as our job, our body's job is to produce energy, and it
Mhm.
requires nutrients. So if we're just looking at calories and we're not looking at nutrients, the internal body cannot produce energy. And if it can't
Mhm.
produce energy, it's stressed out. And so it is so important. I think the nutrition in our country is so important with that. So thank you for bringing that up, because so many of us have been taught this model. And this is, it's like, I look at the show is called What Are You Modeling, right? We learned from our environment. They said calories in, calories out. That's
Mhm.
how you stay healthy. And even though you and I intellectually knew as we got older, that's not right. That doesn't sound right. We've gone to school to learn something different. We still, I can assume, struggle with this on a regular basis when we gain a few pounds or when we're looking at ourselves in a mirror. We're like, oh,
Mhm.
like we still have that idea. Oh, I'm going to eat less today. I'm gonna you open the fridge and you're like, I'm like, well, should I have that or that? Well, that has this in it. Everything in my fridge is nutritious.
Mhm.
But I do find myself catching, well, should I have the carb today? Because I feel like maybe I'm a little bit heavier than I should be, right? And I think
Mhm.
it's because we learned that. So, do you have children?
I do have 3.
Oh, congratulations. Boys or
Mhm.
girls?
2 boys and a girl.
Nice. Any
Mhm.
dancers?
The little girl loves to dance. Not that I put her like,
Yeah.
I'm letting her choose because I you
Well,
know,
yeah, because
but
like,
she just loves it.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
how did you, when you made that shift, or you're starting to realize, as you got rid of that, you went into nutrition, you started helping other people. And as you're going through this process, how do you make sure that you're modeling the right behavior for the children so they don't fall into
Mhm.
the same trips as you do? Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I mean, I will never say, "Oh, I just feel so fat," or "I look so fat," or "How do I look in this?"
Hmm.
I don't do that. They just know, like, my daughter worked out with me last night. She's 6, and
Oh,
she's in there in her leotard from dance camp working out with me just because, like, that's just what we do. It's a part of our life, and we're lifting weights, and she has her little 5-pound weights. We work out as a family. I wear my blue light glasses at night. They know, there's a specific time with no screens. We limit screens. My oldest boy is 13. He still doesn't have a phone.
hmm.
He's like, why can't we be like other people? Why
I
can't we
know.
be normal? I'm like, who wants to be normal? They we used to complain like, I don't want to have kids over because we don't have the normal food. And I'm like, well, and if you came into our pantry, you'd be like, there is plenty of stuff in here for them to have, but we don't have Doritos, we don't have Cheetos, we don't have Capri Suns, we don't drink juice. The
Right.
kids barely drink milk
Yeah.
unless I get it from somewhere. They eat a lot of meat. They know protein first. Pema will be like, Pema is my daughter, and she'll say that, why is Gage, her brother, why is he eating that? He hasn't had his protein yet. or a little kid might be eating. She's like, there's no protein in that lunch. He's missing something. So
Mhm,
I just know that what they observe, they're gaining and modeling, like you
mhm.
say. And so we just try to be aware of that and live an active lifestyle. Um,
And you
yeah,
own your own business, correct?
I do. Yeah.
So I find like in business, we think if we just power through and we work
Mhm.
and do all the things and we charge through everything, that will be more successful.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you've noticed that um it's actually quite the opposite. It's more a focus time and more self-care and more downtime brings more creativity to solve problems. Do you find
Yeah.
that as well?
I find I'm going through this phase in my life right now. Right now, how it was funny because I was talking to my son last night and he's like, "And you wonder why the migraine has happened," because I know I'm sitting in too many seats in my company. It's growing. I have 60 team members. I've got multiple
Mhm,
brick and mortar offices and nationwide. Over the phone, I've got a
mhm,
supplement company,
mhm.
these 3 kids, a husband. So it is a lot to maneuver, and I do find when I'm able to step back, that's when I have my best ideas. That's
Mhm.
when I feel my best. I know that's when I can pour more into people, and it's so hard
It's so
because,
hard.
there are times where, people will tell me just step back. I'm like, "I can't do that right now." When you own your own business, I mean, it is your responsibility to take care of yourself, and though if there's an emergency or something happens, you're the one to step in, and I take responsibility for that as well. So finding that balance is forever my biggest challenge.
Yeah, I think it's most working women's challenge.
Mhm.
I do. And like you said, I can't do that right now. That's something I'm working on. I'm trying not to use the word can't ever.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
hey, mom, can you help me with this? Hey, buddy, I got to finish this up. I will be available at X time and I would
Mhm.
love to sit down and work with you rather than saying, I can't right now, come back later. Like, that's what I used to say.
Yeah.
And it's all I can do to try to find that balance. And I do think
Mhm.
we might, as women, I think it's great that we can do everything because we can, but I just, at what cost?
Yes. I agree with that.
At what cost?
Mhm.
And our health is so important and needs to be a
Mhm.
priority for ourselves and our family.
Mhm.
And so it's very hard. It's a struggle. And I commend you for recognizing it and living in
Mhm.
it and working
Yep.
through it and being honest about that because I'm still working through it too. And I'm an
Mhm.
adrenal fatigue doctor. It's a day-to-day thing. We always have to
Mhm.
keep up leveling ourselves, right?
Yeah, and it just fills back up. I think there are also I was chatting with someone, he's like, your design is that you just are the type of person where there's a lot going on and you might need 3 assistants to help you rather than just 1. Like, I just
Yeah.
have this ability to fill people's cups. So, I think there is design there too. That's a bit of it.
Very true. Very true. Well, before I let you go, one, I want people to know how to find you.
Mhm.
Let's start with that.
Sure. My company's name is PhD Weight Loss. So the website, My PhD Weight Loss. I also have a small supplement company, drashleywellness.com. And then I'm on all social media platforms. Dr. Ashley Lucas is the best place.
Do you ever dance on them?
I haven't. I have a YouTube channel and a podcast as well. Maybe I should do something like that. I don't know.
We'll have to do a dance challenge together
Okay,
virtually. That would be fun.
great.
Um, yeah, you should. Just a little. You don't
I
have to do it
know.
full on ballerina.
I haven't I, like, go in and take a dance class, injure myself, and it takes, like, 6 months to get me back in there. So,
Yeah,
I take 2 classes a year.
maybe don't do a full ballet, like advanced ballet, but
Mhm.
I just was curious because obviously you can feel the music, you can feel the rhythm, and I would
Mhm.
imagine it brings you joy to
It
move to music.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
as you know, joy reduces stress. So
Mhm.
there's my little impart onto you and your
Well, I
work-life balance
appreciate
is
that.
find that joy because the joy and what lights you up, it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
exactly the same as what you used to do, and I think I ran into that too because when I walked into a hip hop class, all the girls in there were 14 and I was 40 and I hadn't
Mhm.
danced in years. I
Mhm.
wasn't anywhere close to as good as I was. I'm still not as good as I was when I was younger,
Yeah.
but, I let that go, and I just
Mhm.
focused on how much fun it was
Yep.
to just try and to just listen to the music and laugh about it when I can't get
Mhm.
it, and just be like, "Well, that
Mhm.
was fun. That was a
Yeah.
that was a nice try." So, that's good. So, Is there any it's just such an interesting background. I still don't even know the right question to tie it together, to be honest, because coming from the background of being so focused on weight and then going into a business where you help others lose weight, do you have any advice or suggestions for people that are finding themselves stuck? They've tried all these different things. Maybe they've even tried body composition testing, and they feel like they're doing all the things and nothing's moving.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice for those people?
Mhm. My main advice is to not give up, and to not get frustrated, because I do think the universe brings what we need into our picture. And if we have hope, we don't give up, we have like the belief, the belief and confidence within ourselves that we can achieve this, we can do this. And kind of like you said, let go a little bit. Just let go and believe like this is going to happen and it can be easy.
Yeah.
Like for the rest, we have a saying, we say for the rest of our lives simply because we want to. We can keep this weight off for the rest of our lives simply because we want to.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be hard. And I know people are going to be like, screw you. I've suffered for years, and I know that. And if we can change our mindset around this, like there is hope, I can do this. It doesn't have to be hard. The exact right thing is going to come into the picture for me. Then I believe that it will. And if PhD weight loss is the right thing for you, and you come in with this mindset of, oh my gosh, they've helped over 11,000 people, I'm going to let this be easy. Or if they come to you, like whatever that is,
Mhm.
and just have the hope and the belief and the confidence that you can make positive change in your life, then I think it opens the door to allow that to become a reality.
It's interesting, after interviewing so many people on the show,
Mhm.
there is one theme across everyone who has been successful in something. It doesn't even matter what we're talking about. Weight, I've talked to someone who lost 120 pounds. I've talked to you who does weight loss. I've talked to people who have abandoned their entire business and paycheck to build new businesses. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
what it was. Every single time it came down to their mindset towards who they wanted to be in the future.
Yeah.
Every single time. If you know who you want to be in the future and what that feels like, and you make choices for your future self every time you come to a choice, even if it's hard, but you know this is the right choice for where I'm trying to go, you are successful in some right. And I've also learned, and from everyone can agree, that the only way to get to that success is to go through these moments of what we perceive as failure, which isn't
Yeah.
failure, right?
Mhm.
But it's conflict within
Mhm.
ourselves, and probably what you're going through right now in some of
Mhm.
your aspect. And
Mhm.
we look at it from this one lens, and if we flip it and say, okay, there's a lesson here, there's something I'm trying to learn, and you've said that a few times, like this is what you were put on the earth to learn,
Mhm.
and we start looking at it from that, we are successful. So I want to mirror that and say to everyone out there that there hasn't been a single story here where someone didn't say there's a link to how you look at the world and seeing yourself as successful. And if you're
Yeah.
not, we have to go back into the brain and say, why do we not believe that we can succeed? Do we
Mhm.
not feel we're worth it? And where did that come from? And how can we go back and reframe that and say, we are worth it because we're all worth it,
Mhm.
right?
That's right.
Yeah, so true. Thank you so much. Do you want to say anything else before I let you go?
No, thank you so much for having me. I've loved being here, and thank you for the opportunity to share a story.
Absolutely. Well, let's dance together soon.
Will do. It's a date.
Good.